please stop scrolling. What you're about to learn has taken me almost 40 years of real estate investing. Since the age of 14, I've been buying, renovating, and renting real estate. Now in 5 different continents, 15 countries. I've helped the #1 or #2 real estate developer grow their businesses. We've done over $6 billion in real estate. But the innovation you're going to learn about today is incredible. This is the most important development in real estate in over 40 years, and I'm so excited you're going to join me.
Yeah, so just like all real estate, let's pretend the asset went up 10%, and let's say 1 year from now, you decide to sell your share. You're setting the price. So number one, you're setting your price. Generally speaking, we'll probably have somebody that's on a waiting list that would love to purchase your fraction, or one of the existing owners might want to buy it. So as an example, let's say I own 1/8 of a property, and then a year from now, I find out that one of the other owners wants to sell their 1/8. If I'm using it, more than I thought, and I want to upgrade from 6 weeks to 12 weeks, that's a logical owner. We also create kind of a VIP, it's called the Casaco VIP list, where if there's a Casaco home that's already sold out, but you want to be notified when a fraction becomes available, we actually have a waiting list on our different homes. So the answer is, if you want to sell your home and it's appreciated, you set the price, most likely we'll find the owner for you. And if we don't, you can also put it on MLS, you can go to any realtor, and you can sell it to anybody you want, and we'll help you with that transaction. But generally speaking, if you're looking for a quick sale, Casaco will probably be the fastest way for you to sell that. And again, you set the price. So if the home value went up 10%, it would make sense that you'd probably want to charge 10% more for your shares, as an example. So it depends on how many shares you buy. So let's assume you only buy 1/8. That's about 44 days. And essentially it's around 6 weeks. You can use 14 days consecutively. But one of the benefits of Casaco is, let's say one of the other owners at the last minute, for example, says, hey, I had that week scheduled, but somebody got sick or somebody happened at work, I can't go. All of the other owners are instantly notified, hey, that week just became available. So when we talk about 44 days or 6 weeks, that's already scheduled. You've got that in the schedule for the next 2 years, but there'll be a lot of weeks that people will all of a sudden, for whatever reason, they're not able to use it. And that goes out into the owners group. So, and you don't have to take the entire week. You could just take 2 days or 4 days. So we think that you're going to get a minimum of 44 days if you own the 1/8, but it could be more. The second thing is if you own a quarter. So now you've got 88 days. If you own a half, you've got 166 days. So you get the idea. So it's all based on how many shares you buy. Every year, you're going to be able to schedule 44 days, and we do it 2 years at a time. So when you purchase your share, we can plan out over the next 24 months what your 6 weeks this year and 6 weeks will be next year. And then as you do your last of your 6 weeks, now you can reschedule your next one. So it's like a rotating calendar. So for example, maybe this year you got Christmas, but then you might not get Christmas for another 5 years. Or this year you got Thanksgiving, then you might not get Thanksgiving next year. But you might get your birthday every year, or you might get your kid's birthday every year. You might get your anniversary every year, because those aren't like statutory holidays, for example. So what we found on average of the 6 weeks, 3 weeks of your desired weeks you're going to get, and probably 3 are going to be rotating. Again, to make the system fair, we've allocated an equal footing for each person. So again, whether it's Memorial Day or Labor Day or Thanksgiving or Christmas, those are rotating among the owners. But there's some holidays that no one else is going to be competing for. Again, your birthday, your kids' birthdays, anniversaries, those are unique dates for you, and other owners don't want those. So generally speaking, when people submit to us their request for the 6 weeks, 3, there's no conflict, and the other 3, they get to rotate. In terms of ownership, you always own 12.5% or 25% or 50%. So your ownership never changes. What we're really talking about is your usage. So the ownership, because you're buying shares in the company, that never changes unless you want to upgrade and you want to buy more, or you want to downgrade and sell some. So that's ownership stake. And then what we're talking about is usage. So on an 1/8, for example, that's the 44 days we're speaking of. Yeah, so let me just give you some statistics that we know, and they've been pretty consistent for 25 years. When people own 100% of a second home, so these are people who own 100% of a second home. They've got no partners, no shareholders, it's just their home. The average, and this is based on 110 million second homes around the world, the average person that owns 100% of the home uses it less than 30 days per year. So the fact that even at an 8th share, you're getting 6 weeks, that's a lot more usage than most people are using when they own 100% of the property. And if you know you're going to be using it a lot more, you might want to buy a quarter share, or you might want to buy 50%, which will give you more. So again, we all seem to overestimate how many weeks we're going to be using, and that's why every year you can rebalance. You can say, hey, I want to buy more shares. I want to sell. Maybe I bought too many. I want to downsize or upsize. And every year you have the opportunity to do that as well. Yeah. So in 12 months, you'll have the option if you want to sell your share. If you notify Casaco, we will go to the other shareholders first and say, would you like to buy that share? And that's the logical buyer. People that already are your co-owners of that home are your most likely buyer. Also, we start kind of a VIP list immediately every time we sell a Casaco home. So the Casaco VIP members are able to pick a home and get on a wait list. So all of a sudden, they love that house in, Isla Mujeres, for example, but all of a sudden it was sold very quickly. They're on a list and they get notified when somebody wants to sell that fraction. So generally speaking, Casaco probably already has a buyer for it, whether it's one of the existing shareholders or somebody on a waiting list. If we didn't have that, you also have the option to go to any real estate agent, any broker around the world. You can put on MLS, you can sell to anyone. So you're not limited to just Casaco's customers. You can also find your own customer. But the first right of refusal goes to your existing shareholders, which makes sense. So if one of your shareholders wants to sell, you always have right of first refusal. Same thing. The only thing we hold you to is the first year, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to avoid speculation. Similar to what they're doing here in Canada, under the new real estate rules. We don't want to create an environment where people are buying Casaco places and flipping out like day traders. That's not the intent here. We want people that are going to own the home for at least a year. Again, because we're trying to eliminate that speculative buyer that's just trying to buy and flip. Yeah, so day trading in real estate's a little different. So we think that a year is not that long to own a property, and it just makes sense. So we think by having the 1-year rule, we're going to eliminate some of those speculators. Not all of them, but some of them. Well, in the closing comment, I'll tell you, we're also the first company that's going to be accepting Bitcoin, Ethereum, for our purchases. And if you think about, 10 years ago, no one would have thought that, Bitcoin would have $1 trillion market cap, or Ethereum would have, $300 billion market cap. But there's been about $1 billion of wealth created with these cryptocurrencies. And we're the first company that I know of that'll accept these to buy. So somebody that did well with cryptocurrency can actually buy a fraction of actual real estate. And we think it's very exciting as well. Yeah, so I was one of those people too. I think a lot of us, we poo-poo things we don't know anything about. And until I spent 1,000 hours of research over a course of a year to learn about Bitcoin, I was one of those people who said, oh, those are just speculators, they don't know what they're talking about. But after a year and 1,000 hours of work, I realized, Bitcoin could be one of the most valuable assets in the world. And other than real estate, it's the only other thing I invest in. So yeah, I'm a big believer that this Bitcoin thing is real. I think most of those cryptocurrencies are not, but I think Bitcoin is real. So that's why we're willing to accept Bitcoin and Ethereum for our purchases. So minimum 2. So the way our LLCs are structured, there'll always be a minimum of 2 owners and a maximum of 8. But a typical might be 4 or 5 owners. Remember, these owners aren't meeting each other. They're not ever in the home together. They own the asset, and they all have a schedule of when they're going to be at the home. But it's not like they're sharing a home. Like, this is not a co-living environment. Co-ownership is very different than co-living. Co-living, people live together. Co-ownership just means you're an investor. So just because you own, a portion of that office building doesn't mean that you have to share the office with them. You're just a co-owner. I think the last 2 years, if it's taught us anything, that life is short. A lot of us have lost friends or family to COVID. There are no guarantees in life. 50% of us will die of cancer. The other 50% of us will die of heart disease. We have no guarantees about life. So I think if COVID and this pandemic has taught us anything, there is no guarantees. But what we do know is when you're in a beautiful Casaco home that's fully managed, and you could be with your loved ones, with your friends and family, life doesn't get any better than that. I mean, this is as good as it gets. And the fact that you're making a solid real estate investment at the same time, it's the best of both worlds. You're making the very best lifestyle investment for your family and your friends that you possibly can. And you're also making a solid real estate investment, and you're diversifying your assets. So we think it ticks all the boxes, but we'd say don't think about it. People have, paralysis by analysis. They think about things forever. Do it. No one's ever regretted buying real estate. They look back in 5 or 10 years and they're so happy they did it and all the memories they've made. But we've all regretted real estate we didn't buy. Everyone you know says, oh my gosh, I should have done that. I could have done that. Would have, could have, should have. So we live with regret. I've learned that in life, you only regret the things that you don't do. We very rarely regret the things that we did. So I think this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you to own a second home that's fully managed in some of the most desirable places in the world. Canada, US, Mexico, Costa Rica, and Portugal. With a $150,000 investment, you could be living your dream and your family could be living a dream right now.